Hello, so this is my final project for app development, and I decided to build a recipe saver app. Um, so I can walk through my code a little bit. My content view is not that interesting, and my tab bar is also not as interesting. Um, but here's my home view, which is what you're looking at right now. And we have the categories, a new recipe, and a settings view, and then in my details, it starts to go a little bit more into how it's laid out. Um, Same with the categories and the add recipe. And here are my individual recipe cards. And then we have my recipe list, which is the categories that I will show you in a moment. And then down here, we have all of the actual hard coded recipes that I brought in from a website, and my categories and how I divvied everything up. So, starting out with the actual app itself, we have, like I said, a home view, a categories view, a new view, and then a settings view. The settings really isn't necessary at all. I just decided to add it in because, well, one, I thought it was kind of funny, but because of how useless it actually is. But I just thought it made it look a little more legit. I think most apps actually have a settings tab. Um, But for the home view, so first of all, it's a scroll view with all these individual little cards. And up here, I have so that it keeps count of how many recipes I add in. And when I add in a new recipe, I'll show you how that works. But um, starting with card number one, we have creamy tortellini soup. And so I brought in this picture, and as you can see here, it's just brought in from a URL. And I have a description. And all of this information is straight from a website. And then we've got my ingredients. And one thing I found out is I had to add in these little dividers for line breaks into the string to break it up. Because at first it was just one big paragraph of ingredients that looked hectic. And then we just have our directions down here. And all of these are the same, more or less, some ingredients and some words. Um, and then we can move over to my categories. So this is pretty self-explanatory, but we have each of said categories here, and that creamy tortellini soup falls under the soup category. And so if you click on it, there she is. And um, some categories have more than one. And so, for instance, we have two main dishes. And like I said earlier, this keeps count. So, for future reference, I have one drink here. We can remember that. So, moving over to my new recipe view, I have this little button that says add recipe manually, and we can type it in. So, I made this so that you could enter in, say, family recipes or recipes that you came up with or just stumbled upon that aren't directly from the internet. So let's say I want to make lemonade, and that falls under a drink, and it's the perfect summer drink. And we need lemons, sugar, and water. And we can squeeze our lemons, add water, and add sugar. Mix it all up. So there's our little homemade recipe, and we can click this check mark, and that automatically dismisses. And if you check up here, this is now 12 recipes instead of 11. And it's right down at the bottom where we added it. And then you can double check in our categories view, and voila, just like magic, our lemonade is now there. So that's pretty much my app. I'm actually really happy with it. Some of the things I had fun with was styling this page in particular. I wanted the cards to have a little more design to it than just it looking flat or it just being a list. I think it looks really nice when you have real pictures. And then another thing that I enjoyed was, for instance, this name is a lot longer than this name. And so I was having fun seeing how those names lined up and how long I could take it and how short I could take it, what it would format as. The categories was a very fun thing for me to see at the end. And once I got it to work and that it would actually keep track, I thought that was a fun little accomplishment I had. So yeah, there's my recipe app.